Kappa Delta Pi, and I'm a senior, well, in my 5th year of the 5-year BSMS program for childhood special education.
I'm Danielle Matoro. I'm a junior and a half, and I'm an adolescent education major, English concentration.
And we are the co-facilitators for this event. So I just would like to introduce you to Professor Sackowitz and Professor Ehrlich. They're going to be leading this event for us today on legality and teaching. They have both served as administrators in the past, and they're going to offer you perspectives from both city and suburb locations. So we hope you enjoyed the professional development workshop, and let us know if you have any other questions.
Okay, I'm going to start off. I see some of our former students here. Probably take the test right now. But I'm going to go through a number of areas. You may want to take some notes on this because these are things you really have to know. They're basic. It's not going to be like a law school. Okay, if you went to law school right now, some basic information you need to know. If you have any questions along the way, you can ask. Now, a lot of these things have changed over the years, so I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to go through some of the topics, and what you have here is you have me from the suburbs, North Shore of Long Island, and Professor Sackowitz was in the inner city. So you have two different perspectives. First thing I'm talking about is the interview. When you go for a job interview, get right started with it. There are some things that can not happen during the interview. For example, the administrator who's questioning you, and I'll say this to the females here first, and asks you, oh, are you going to get, I see you're not married, are you going to get married soon? You're going to have a family soon? Why is that illegal? Very simple. Anybody know? Yes?
Because they can't ask about your personal life?
Yeah, your personal life has nothing to do, okay, whether you get the job or not. Now, let me just point out something to you. In that interview, of course, what he's really saying to you is, well, if you are going to get married, going to have children, then under the maternity leave, I have to give you maternity leave, which the district's going to pay, correct? And hire a sub. So I have to pay double. So that's what he's really saying to you. Now, how do you answer that? Do you say it's none of your business? You could say that. You're not going to get the job anyway. But you just say, well, I don't think that's important as far as me getting the job. You're being honest. And it is none of his business, or her business, whoever asked that question. Sometimes during the interview, they will ask, can we go on your Facebook? They probably have already. Warning, anything you put on Facebook right now, and I know all the districts are doing, are looking on Facebook to see what you're saying. You don't know this, but it is happening. Third, I'm sure nobody here is in that situation, but have you ever been, for example, arrested for whatever? It is very difficult getting a job, and I'll explain why. On the applications that you will fill out, it will say, have you ever been arrested? Yes or no. Check the box that says yes. The next one says, what was the disposition of the arrest? Did you go to trial, so forth and so on. I will tell you right now, even though it's outright discrimination, as soon as they see that check, they're going to put those applications aside. Why? The answer is very simple. Why? You're a parent in the district.
Teachers are role models.
What's that?
Teachers are role models, and they can't.
You want a teacher who's a role model, and there's so many candidates who have never been arrested for whatever reason. Why should they go to that area? And that happens, even though that is what is happening. I just want to mention some other things like that. So that's about the interview very quickly, because we're going to go over this very quickly. We have a lot to talk about. Any questions about the interview itself? By the way, sometimes when you go to the interview, it's not what you say, it's what you don't say that's important. You can ask in the questions that we're going to ask, I don't understand what you're saying. Could you please explain it again? There's nothing wrong with that. Take time, reflect before you say anything. And make sure you say what you want to say. This is important, because sometimes when you say something in an interview, you realize I shouldn't have said that. Now, I know at St. John's, many professors will help you prepare for the interview. I know I do that for my students as well. Do not hesitate to take advantage of that. Another topic is tenure. Now, tenure is different in each state. Indeed, districts do have different ones. Just to give you a little overall review of it, tenure you get after 3 years. Some districts is 5 years. You get tenure after you've been observed. The principal in the building will make a recommendation to the superintendent of schools that you should get your tenure. The superintendent then goes to the Board of Education and asks the board to certify you as a tenured teacher. Now, I will tell you this. Assuming the tenure is after 3 years, after the second year, we know who is going to get tenure or not. If you are not doing your job, or you had bad recommendation, you're not even going to be around for that second year. If you get into your third year, okay, the chances of getting a tenure are very, very good. It is not uncommon not to get it, but I will say this. If you're in your third year, you will probably get your tenure, unless you do something drastic. Now, what is tenure? Everybody know what tenure is? You've probably heard the term.
Isn't it essentially job security?
Yes and no. The tenure laws are specific, but let me just tell you in general what it is. Tenure is a legal protection for you, the teacher, in certain areas. And we can go into those later on, but the point is here, it does not guarantee that you will have a protection for your job. For example, when districts begin to budget cut, unfortunately, they will take the last hired is the first fired, even though you may have your tenure. I should say fired, just let go. Is that understood? It depends upon the district. So the thing that a lot of the discussion is today is this. Why should qualified young teachers who are doing a spectacular job be taken out even though they're tenured, even though the senior teachers who are there are not doing a very good job, they're burnt out, whatever, which does happen. That's the discussion today. So there is discussion of getting rid of tenure, by the way. We don't know what's going to happen to that. It's a possibility. The unions and associations, of course, are campaigning against that. They'd like to keep the tenure. So there are arguments on both sides with tenure, but it is not a guarantee as such to keep your job. Now, there are some things that you can lose your tenure for. For example, you commit a crime while in school, okay? You are insubordinate, for example. You don't take orders from the principal, from whoever your supervisor is, and so forth and so on. Child abuse, I can name a whole slew of things. That would be means of not getting the tenure. They would actually have a tenure hearing.
I just want to mention, teaching is the only profession that offers you tenure as a protection. Surgeons don't have tenure, doctors, dentists, lawyers. It's only our profession.
We have tenure
It's a
here.
guarantee.
At universities, colleges like St. John's, we have tenure here. Again, it's a thing that is awarded here based upon job performance. We are evaluated as well, so keep that in mind. The other thing I want to talk about now is liability, legal liability. I'm going to read you the law, then I'm going to give you examples of it. What is liability? There are two standards in liability. The first one is, and I'll say it slowly because I want you to make sure you understand it, whether a reasonable person with similar training would act in the same way. Did we get that so far? All right. That's the first standard. And the second standard is this. Whether or not the teacher in this case could have foreseen the possibility of an injury. All right, I'm using that specific. Does everybody understand that? Now let me give you a specific case very quickly. You are assigned cafeteria duty, and everything's going fine. All of a sudden, you realize you have to make that call on your cell phone to whoever. And so you step outside the door of the cafeteria. You do not get anyone else to supervise. You think everything's going to be fine. And you make your cell phone call. By the time you get back, there's a kid on the floor. The kid is in agony. He slipped on some milk or a banana. And the nurses come down. And who was on supervisory duty here? What do you think is going to happen to that teacher? Kid broke his leg or whatever. Well, first of all, the teacher did not do his or her duty, correct? Second, they are responsible in the law for the well-being of that child. It's called local parentis, which means in Latin, local parent. You are the local parent. Parents have trusted their children to you. And if you do something wrong, you are held liable. The school is held liable. Is that clear? Now, there are specific kinds of liability I want you to get down and make sure you understand them. The first one is called misfeasance. M-I-S-E-F-A-S-A-N-C-E. Misfeasance. I'll give you the definition and then I'll explain it to you. Very quickly, misfeasance is this. It is failure to conduct in appropriate manner an act that might otherwise have been lawfully performed. And that might have actually otherwise been lawfully performed. Now, let me give you an idea. I see two kids fighting. And I go in and I break up the fight. I take one kid and I slam him against the wall. Break up the fight. That is an example of misfeasance. You use excessive force to break up that fight, and you can be held liable. Now, somebody always asks the questions in class, if I see a fight, should I get involved? My answer to you is this, and you can get the answer. Who do you call? You call security if there's security in the building. Is that clear? If you feel you cannot handle it. Now, I know in our school, I set up in each floor, there would be somebody designated, a coach or somebody I know that could be called on the spur of the moment to help out with the situation until you can handle it. But if you cannot, don't get yourself in harm's way. Is that clear? Now, let me give you another one called nonfeasance. Same feasance, but N-O-N at the beginning. Nonfeasance. I'll give you the definition of this, and I'll give you an example. Law says nonfeasance is this. It's a failure to perform an act that one has a duty to perform. That would be the example of the cafeteria situation, right? You should have been there supervising, you were not there, you left, something happened, you're liable. Is that clear? Question?
So what if you hadn't stepped out to take the call, but there was milk on the floor and you had missed it and that kid slipped, but you were there and present, would that still be the same situation?
If you remember the criteria here? If you foresaw that there was milk there, you noticed it, you didn't get it cleaned up.
No, but what if you didn't see the milk? Like, it's a big cafeteria, you were on the other side, you just didn't see it.
Here's my answer to you. When we assign, or anyone assign cafeteria duty, you are to walk around, to seize things like that. Food on the floor, spilled milk, whatever. Backpacks, they're on the floor, they have backpacks, things like that. That is part of your duty.
Okay.
Why do teachers do lunch duty? Don't they have lunch?
Okay. I gave an example actually. It could be hall duty, okay? It could be bus duty. It could be any kind of duty that you are assigned, all right, that you failed to supervise properly. Question? Okay, let me go on. Next one is malfeasance. Same word with M-A-L at the beginning. What is that? Very simply, it's this. It's an act that cannot be done lawfully. An act that cannot be done lawfully, regardless of how it is performed. Something that is totally illegal. You can't do it. Bringing firearms to school would be an example of that. Smoking marijuana would be an example. Anything that is against the law, no matter how you do it, is legally impossible. Simple enough, correct? The last one is called educational malpractice. Now, you've heard about medical malpractice, where a surgeon does something wrong. There's something called educational malpractice. Now, what is that? Very simple. It's this. This is what it claims to be. It's where this district has failed to educate the child adequately. Now, the courts have ruled on this. It's very, very, very tough to prove this. Courts have thrown out most of the cases on this. The reason is there's so many factors that come into being. Okay? The home with it, the friends, everything comes into it. However, if a kid is given an IEP, you know what that is, correct? And the teachers fail to follow the IEP, that would be an example, okay, of educational malpractice, if it can be proven and related to what actually happened with the kid. Can't read, whatever, because you didn't follow the IEP. Okay, any questions about that? Another topic, very quickly. Personal records, teacher personal records. There's something called the Buckley Amendment under personal records. Anything that you keep written down, whether it be on a computer or a grade book, is considered public records for the school, which means that parents have the right to see them, okay, at any time, as long as they notify the district or teacher. As a matter of fact, on the No Child Left Behind, it actually says it there that it must be publicized. The parents have the right to do that. Now, if a kid is applying to college, parents must sign off on sending the records. So whatever. If it's sending to some doctor, you must sign off on this. When the child becomes 18 years old, they have the right to look at their own records at any time. It's called the Buckley Amendment. Any questions? So if you put something on your computer about a kid, whatever it might be, it can be subpoenaed in